I saw a absolutely phenomenal TV series this weekend.
Okay.
I watched the entire season. I think it was only 5 episodes.
Yeah.
They're about like 45-minute episodes.
Yeah.
And the new season that just dropped, it's called Chef's Table.
Okay.
And basically, they're these like long-form stories where they dive into a chef and the style of cooking that he or she does, and also their story.
Right.
How they came to be this successful, and their restaurant. And this season is about barbecue specifically. And I cried, I think, at almost every episode. These are so well done, so beautiful. They're not about the food, to me. What they're about is, the ones that really got me, are people learning how to dream.
Okay. Walk me through it.
I love a show that is about something outside of the show.
Okay.
They trick you into thinking it's a show about a high school football team, but it's really about your passions, your love, your sacrifice, whatever Friday Night Lights was really about, you know. And I'm watching the show about these chefs, and I swear to God, Akaash, I think the closest thing to being a stand-up comic is being a chef.
Explain.
People go, oh, comedy's just like boxing. Like all these nerd comics that never fucking stepped in the ring before. They go, comedy's just like, it's nothing like boxing. I used to box. Nothing like it at all.
Yeah.
Okay, when you go into the boxing ring, the person standing in front of you doesn't want you to beat the shit out of them.
Right.
That's stand-up.
Yeah.
The guy paid money to laugh at you.
Right.
The guy in a boxing ring wants to kill you.
Right.
Very different experience.
Right.
This Chef's Table, the amount of time and energy that they put in to like innovating and making that dish.
Right.
So that you can enjoy it. And their night is made based on you liking it or hating it. Just
their
like
validation comes from you liking it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, my good friend Brian, who you met, is a chef, and we identify so much with like so much of my self-worth is this food right here that you love, and that makes me feel good, or you're like, and that fucking crushes me. Yeah. It's like bombing.
Because it is bombing.
Yeah.
And he puts his creativity into it. He puts his time into his passion, his love, his innovation. How can I change this dish? How can I make this dish better? What can I do to make it better? And there's these fascinating stories of different people, but there's this common theme, which is like learning how to dream.
Right.
Like this guy named Rodney Scott, he's from like this really small town in South Carolina. And like he was told that, you know, in high school, all he was going to do was go down the block and start cooking up hogs or whatever. And like that's what he did on his graduation day. And he thought that he was nothing more than, I think one of like the greatest things I've ever gotten, if I have any privilege in this world, it is my parents teaching me how to dream. Like ever since I was young, just dream. I've never thought there was something I couldn't do because I just dream it. And then eventually that is the biggest hindrance to so many people. Right. Is the idea of just even dreaming of this thing that you want to create, conquer, do. Right. And this guy thought he was just going to be there he was depressed. His dad had like a stroke. He had to take over the business. And then he started taking over the business. And he started like getting a little creative and like making some changes in the business. And like you can, as he tells the story, like you can see him reliving him finding confidence.
Right.
And then he was scared to go out and branch out of his little town.
Right.
And then his barbecue burnt down. And then he started to branch out and do some like pop-up barbecues. And finally this guy was like, please come to Charleston, South Carolina, right? Which to us, maybe it doesn't seem like a big city. But to him, when he's coming from this tiny little town to go to Charleston,
roads
is the fucking biggest thing in the world.
Right.
And he finally like gets the courage to go do it. And he ends up winning best chef in the Southeast of America. And you can, as he's telling the story, you can see his self-esteem just inflating.
Right.
And he's like, okay, now we just got to see how far we can push it, what we can do next, what we can take this. Let's go some other city. How many other cities? I want to take over the world. You see a guy go from, I'm never going to be anything than this guy that cooks hogs down the block to, I'll take my restaurant, I put it wherever the fuck I want. And it's like the most beautiful feeling. Because if there's one thing I could ever give anybody, it was the ability to dream.
Yeah.
I don't care if there's one fucking thing. I think that little kernel, that little seed you put inside anybody, that and some hard work is all they need for success. You might not accomplish every single thing, but you're going to accomplish more.
Yeah,
without that ability. And I'm telling you, this show is so beautifully done. Go watch this show. Everybody listening right now, go watch this show. You should check it out. As a comic, I think you'll listen to it. As someone who's like just passionate about your craft.
Yeah.
Like seeing them innovate, I relate to it so much. Mm-hmm. How can we do things different?
Right.
How can we change things? Like I'm seeing these guys. There's this restaurant in Chicago, this fucking chef with 3 Michelin star restaurant, one of the best restaurants in the world, gets tongue cancer and loses his sense of taste.
Yeah.
He loses, I mean, this is almost like out of a cartoon story or something like that. Loses sense of taste. It's like Beethoven with music. Yeah, he has to make dishes with his brain. Mm. And they developed a system where it's like based on the salt level. He's like, okay, is it salty like a pickle? That'd be a 5. Is it salty like, like bread? That'd be 1 or something like that. And based on that, he's able to like put together these crazy dishes, innovating. Like he finds a way to like make sugar float and you like drink balloons. They're crazy things they're doing. And they're just going, how can I push this further? How can I make something innovative, different?
Yeah.
And I was so fucking inspired by it, man.
I'm going to watch this.
You guys got to check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so good. And the guys who made it, I hope that they listen or somebody tells them about this because I think they did such a fucking incredible job of like getting into the story, getting into the characters, but also like getting into like what the ethos of the show was.
Yeah. And
I always think of these things like, people will ask like as far as like career goes, like the decisions that we've made, and like what is the competitive advantage, maybe we've had. And I've always thought it was like bravery. I think anybody who like looks at the industry can see trends. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm like unique in that regard. Like I think if you just sit down there long enough and you go, oh yeah, I think everything's going towards the internet. I think everything's going towards YouTube or, even like going towards short clips and that kind of stuff. But like we'll do it. We were flagrant when it was not the right time to be flagrant.
Right.
But we knew that that's what the people needed.
Yeah.
We knew that that's what the craving was.
We knew this was going to come to an end. PC was going to come to an end.
Absolutely. And it's like, I don't know, it's just so cool to see. It was like refreshing to see these other people in a completely different field, but like view their craft the same way. Yeah. Like I remember like after doing the Views from the Sis special, like I was like, how do I go further with this? Like okay, we did these crazy jokes. Okay, there's all these people in the crowd. Like what can I do differently? How can I create a different experience? Like I go, okay, like what if I just make the jokes up on the spot? Right. And I remember like looking at the people I admired how they did crowd work. And I was like, okay, how can I do this different? Like what can I change about crowd work? And then I remember going like, okay, if people asked, what is a typical question with crowd work? It's like, so what do you do?
Yeah.
I remember going, all right, but what if I don't do the jokes about what they do, but what if I do the jokes about who they are? Mm-hmm. Like, what if I'm talking to you about your identity?
Right.
Who you are, what you believe in. That's the highest stakes. Right. That's if it goes badly, you're super offended. You're fucking pissed off. Right. And it could be really awkward. But if it goes great, the fucking sky's the limit.
Right.
Right? And it's like, on that little thin line between like success and failure is every cooking, a little too much salt destroys the dish.
Right.
Right? And a little too much edge, whatever it is, could destroy that bit with that person. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how do we find the fucking way to do it? How do you find a way to create that? Even with the monologue shows, it was like, okay, we can't do live shows. How do we do comedy without an audience?
Right.
How do we figure that shit out?
Yeah.
How do we switch little things so it's not uncomfortable you tell a joke into a void? I don't know. I just think that you'd appreciate it so much. I think anybody who like is passionate about whatever the fuck their craft is, I think they'd find a lot of joy in it.
Absolutely. Check it out.
Yeah, man. Tune in. You got it. Did you watch it yet, Al?
No, not yet.
I think and also just the cinematography is fucking great.
Yes.
Like
it's also dope to watch people at a high level of anything talking about it.
Yes.
There's shit you won't understand with the nuances of the whatever, if it's cooking, dishes, talking funny with Seinfeld and Rock and Louis C.K. It was like, all right, there's nuanced shit you only get if you're a comic, but also just listening to people do anything at a high level, talk about that thing is like, there's a passion that comes through. There's an emotion that you feel that resonates with something inside of you that's like, oh, this is dope.
There's one part that you're going to love. and you'll be there for the whole experience if you watch it. Yeah. But one of the chefs, he has, again, this is the Chicago one who lost his sense of taste, and then it came back eventually. Yeah. But he has the most successful restaurant in Chicago. People are spending crazy amount of money. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And he keeps changing the menu. And people are like, what the fuck are you doing? We're sold out.
Yeah.
People are going to come here. It's going to be new people. It's not the same people. You don't have to worry about doing the same dish or jokes over and over again. Yep. Right?
Yeah.
He got tired of his material like we get tired of our material.
It's not for you, it's for me.
It's for, he says it. This is why I wish I was watching it with y'all, man. Because he goes, if we do a greatest hits, he goes, that's great of dishes. He goes, to me,
that's the death of cooking?
The death of creation.
Yeah, the death of creation. All right.
Literally, that's the death of creation.
Yeah.
That's the opposite. Yeah. We're not creating anymore. We're not pushing. We're not trying. We're not trying to find something to do. It's like, this is the new thing now. Doing the monologues is the new thing now. We're going to create a new thing later. We're going to create a new thing after that. We're going to keep these. That's what we do. We like creating.
There's no passion in it. To the point that I look at people who can do the same joke over and over with a certain level of envy. Like, how do you do this thing with no passion? Because how do you find passion in the same thing over and over?
Because they're addicted to the result, not the act. They're not addicted to creation. They're addicted to the result of that thing.
Yeah.
Right? So they're like, ooh, I get the claps. Okay, I'm fine. As long as I'm getting claps, I won't write anything new. But once I stop getting claps, then I'll write new.
Yeah.
We get claps on some shit that we write. And then eventually we're like, all right, I think I'm done with that.
Yeah, it gets to the point, I know I'm done with the bit where I hate them for laughing at it. I'm like, y'all are such losers, man. Look at you laughing at this dog shit at it. I know this 1,000 times, you regular ass motherfucker.
and the joke is great to them. It's just you are addicted to the creation. Yes. That's the sign of true creative.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where like, you see like these, oftentimes like corporate structures exist, right?
Yeah.
And what they do is they're set up for people who are not creating, right? It's a moat to protect what exists and is, and stop letting innovation in. Because they cannot continuously innovate. What's the idea of a monopoly, right? If I just control all of the things, I don't need to make anything new.
Also, there's safety in not being creative. I know this is monetizable. Yes. I know I can make money on these dishes, a line out the door.
Yep.
What are you creating for? Don't create. Stop creating.
And if you're not a creative, that works perfectly. Matter of fact, creativity threatens you. It frightens the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
Right? Someone who could come along and create something cooler than your shit.
Yeah.
I need to squash him.
Yep.
I need to shut him down. I need to make sure he's not doing anything. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
The internet terrifies these motherfuckers because now we can come out here, we can create our shit, and we could put that fucking pressure and make them have to change as well.
And that's what comedy's become. They're caving. Yeah, it's funny. Now that I think about it, I remember one of the reasons I didn't ever get an agent is they would ask, how many minutes do you have? And I would have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
Because I don't think about comedy and like getting 6 minutes or 7 minutes or 8 minutes. I'm always trying to do a new joke. I need validation. I'm not some fucking guy who's cool bombing.
Of course.
So I'll do the jokes sometimes that I love, but for the most part, I don't want to do those. I want to be doing new shit. So when you say, how many minutes do I have? I will go, I can do as long as you need me to do. How many minutes do I have? I have no fucking clue. I haven't formalized. I haven't made my comedy that formulaic that I know this is 3 minutes and that's 2 minutes. And how the fuck do y'all even do that?
Right.
And to somebody who's not passionate about it, that's terrifying.
Yep.
So you almost got to get to the highest level. You got to be the guy who's line out the door, and then you've proven you can keep changing it for them to finally go, all right, let them do the fucking thing.
Yeah, 100%. And there is a balance, which I'm sure that you've reached, which is like, or you were going to say something, Al, what was it?
Oh, yeah. No, I was just saying, it's cool hearing you guys talk about your creativity from a comedic stance. And when I first got into this, I didn't think of myself as a creative. I was like, oh, I just enjoy doing it. So it was like a hobby that became something I was good at. And I was like, all right. And then I realized I kept catching myself trying new things. Like once I got good at something, I was like, oh, I want to do something.
That's my favorite thing about
old shit is like, it's old to me. And even though people still like it, it's like, that's still the old shit. And like hearing you guys talk about this every time, like now when I do little additives in a little Instagram clip, the only shit I care about are the people who notice those little nuances and like, oh, that shit was dope. That's the only shit I like. Because that's what I'm doing it for.
Because that's like, your creative outlet. It's like, Like, just like cooking is their creative outlet.
Yeah.
And there's someone on that cooking team, and what he does is fucking salad.
Yeah.
And he finds a way to make that salad slap.
Yeah.
You know, like, he might put the salad on the grill. Right? Like, who knows? You try to find a new way to get some flavors out of it.
When I start working with a person for like camera work, I always start editing or whatever. I'm like, yo, I want you to try everything. That's how Alex got so nice. Try that's like the thing I like most about you is I'm always trying to find a little thing to do that's different.
This is so sweet, yo.
But it's true.
I love this guy.
No, dude, you got to let people go. Like, I love y'all, dude.
Love y'all, man.
Love y'all. Taylor?
Taylor,
say it.
Yeah.
Taylor,
Hey.
say it.
Taylor.
You got to say it. I love you, Taylor.
Taylor.
Yo,
You don't gotta say it to
That's
me.
fucked up,
I just met you. You know what I mean? You could say it to Drew,
that's
Andrew,
fucked up.
Andrew Schulz, AlexxMedia. You work with every week. You can't say it.
For
I
years,
love
Taylor.
y'all, yes.
Thank you. We'll take the group one, even though it don't mean as much. It's safer. It's a safer version. But that is, just to wrap it up, but that is an interesting thing about like how threatening creativity is, and like how people try to control those environments.
Yeah.
Right. And like, don't get me wrong. Being able to like mix with the mainstream is important. Like, you've recognized throughout your career, and we've had conversations about this, like, you know that you need to have an hour.
Yes.
You know, you need to have X amount of minutes if you're going to do this, or if we're going to do a project that's 15 minutes long, you know, you need to have that ironed out. And we've had these conversations. It's not that, and the people who are truly successful understand how to function within the rigidity of these structures and the creativity of absolutely zero inhibitions and zero limitations.
Right.
And like blending those things together. And that's what these chefs do. And that's what successful comics end up doing.
Yeah.
You can't be too much rigid because there's no creativity. And you can't be too much just creative because you can't monetize that.
Yeah.
You want to just go tell jokes into a wall? Go for it.
Yeah.
Great. That's not the business.
Right.
You want to be in the business, right? Like, if you want to be in the business, you're signing up. It's like, you want to play for the NBA? You could play pickup. You want to play in the NBA? Be in shape to play 48 minutes because that's how long the fucking game.
You want to dribble however you want to dribble that and one shit.
And
do
one
that
shit,
over
go
there.
for it. Yeah, yeah.
Go be as creative as you want to. Here, you be creative within this offense.
Exactly. And so anyway, I think it's so cool. And I just think that like, it's great to see other people look at stuff the way you do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's people listening to this podcast and they're not stand-ups, but they're in advertising or they're in these other fields and they're like, oh yeah, the way you talk about stand-up is kind of how I feel about advertising, or how I feel about art or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, fucking innovate. Put that foot on their neck.
Word.
You should absolutely do that.
Yeah.